Lord, that's me. Oh, that's funny.
I know, we could have used some energy this morning.
It's been so quiet. Okay.
Alright.
We are ready.
So just one quick
And I'm
question.
gonna
Do you have
pass
these electronically? I mean,
we can.
okay.
Pardon me when I walk.
Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
And y'all do have to introduce yourself. Not everybody knows you.
Alright, my name is Amisha Mason, agent here in the office. I think this is our third year teaching business planning. This is Becky Wynn Evans. You want to say good morning?
Good morning.
And so anyway, we're excited to teach you guys some business planning strategies. I think, like I said, this is our third year teaching it, and every year it builds on itself because we become different business owners, and as a result, we can then relate to you guys what we've learned in our business. Very interactive, you guys. It's not us imparting information. It's definitely a mind share, so please feel free to ask questions, jump in if you see fit. Right? It's about you getting the most out of it, not taking in the most information. Make sense? Okay. Y'all gotta give me some more energy than that. Make sense?
Yeah.
Alright, okay. So, first thing we're gonna do. First thing, I have a quick question. Keep me on. Okay, so we're gonna go over four parts of business planning today. The first part is we're gonna review 2019, your business for 2019. We're gonna take a look at your 2020 goals and income plan. Okay? Then we're going. Becky's gonna handle the economic model. She's gonna walk you through that. And then last but not least, we're going to look at your growth plan. We're going to save about 30 minutes at the end to answer any questions you may have. Make sure that we're getting not only all your questions answered, but make sure you guys have extreme clarity when you leave here. So what's going to be a little different from today than we've done in the past is, in the past we've actually worked through the numbers here in the room, and then sometimes we'll focus on the more vocal person, and then people get lost in the sauce with their own numbers. Our goal today is to give you the tools to be able to go back home or go to your quiet space and really hammer out your business plan. It's not overwhelming. And you do need to commit some time to it. It doesn't have to be overwhelming. It can actually be fun, okay? Which Becky and I kind of discovered this year when we set aside some time to work on our business plan. I think this was the year it was I had the most fun putting my business plan together. And I'll tell you more about why that was versus years in the past. So, okay, 2019. First thing we're going to get into is taking a look at the health of your business for 2019. How many people in here track their numbers? And when I say numbers, I'm talking about, you know how many deals you've done year to date. You know what your average price point is. You know what your GCI. Yeah, year to date GCI or days on market. How many people in here track those numbers? Like half? Okay, y'all don't be ashamed. Raise your hand now so I can see you. Good. Okay, so for the other people who don't, anybody want to give me just a quick reason why you don't track? You guys have to have a level of transparency and vulnerability for us to get anything out of this. I'm going to tell you that now. If you ever taken a class with me, I'm very transparent and I'm very vulnerable. So if you meet me in that space, something magical will happen. If you don't want to admit to the things you don't do well or don't do at all, we won't get a lot out of this class. Fair enough?
Yep.
Okay. So for those of you who, don't.
So new agent and a limited number of sales. You've got 2 sales. So,
all right.
It's tracking. So you can do it in your.
Cool. So how much was your first sale?
$780.
Okay.
Yeah. Wow.
$780. How much was your second sale?
$450.
$450. So that's about $1.1 million. You divide that into 2. What is that?
$600,000.
$600,000 is your average price point. We just tracked your numbers.
Yeah. Well, it's keep in my head. I just don't track them on that.
Right. So I'm just showing you how simple it is to track. Now we want to just take that out of your head and put that in a spreadsheet somewhere. I personally don't do spreadsheets that give me anxiety, so I found a CRM, a database management tool that works for me. I'm not here to push command. I'm not saying command is bad or good.
But I'm here.
I'm just telling you, I found something that works for me until Command is a well-oiled machine, okay? I found something that's aesthetically pleasing to me, that it looks simple and it's easy for me to track. If I had to track my numbers in a CRM that didn't resonate with me, I wouldn't track my numbers. So I just want to show you how simple. What's your name?
Bob.
Bob, I want to show you how simple it is and how critical it is to know that number, okay? So you done 2 transactions here today. Congratulations on those very high price points. Sounds like you got a good opportunity to maintain that price point if you do it well. Anybody else, reason why you don't track your numbers?
Like
Yes.
I said earlier, I'm new, and so I've also had a limited number of transactions and just trying to get the basics down, but I'm at the point where I see that in 2019, so I'm here, I have to track stuff.
So I want to encourage you to start some good habits early, and nobody goes into business not tracking how much money they made. Like if McDonald's or Apple did that, they'd probably be out of business really quickly. So it's okay to go ahead and start that good habit early. So thank you for being transparent. I appreciate that. So as we review 2019, number one thing I want everybody, if you don't do one thing next year, find a CRM where you can dump all your business in and let it track it for you. Okay? That, like, plan of action. My coach does this all the time. When we're coaching, please get a sheet of paper like to the side and write POA, plan of action. And these are action steps that when you leave out of here, this is what you're going to do. Okay? We can write notes all day, but what are your action steps? Action steps is find a CRM where you can dump all your transactions in. I use Referral Maker right now because it's very remedial and it's very easy and it runs reports for me. But you can use anything you choose. Okay?
The office actually, my team uses CTE, Commitment to Excellence, and the office pays for that for all of the agents. And if you're a spreadsheet person, it's a great way to track your numbers as well too. So that's an opportunity. If you're not ready to spend money on our CRM and you just want something that you just plug and play into a bunch of lines and cells, that's a great one.
Yeah, I love that.
What's the name of it?
Commitment to Excellence.
CTE.
I will send out to everybody info for access.
Yeah. If you're a numbers person, CTE is it. If you not a numbers
Nerd like
person
Becky.
and you like pretty graphics and charts that you don't have to put together, Referral Maker.
CTE does that too. It's not that challenging.
Yeah, it's all personality driven type person. Okay, so we're gonna look at the health of your business in 2019, and I'm gonna kind of walk you through how I evaluated my business, and then you guys can apply that to your business. That makes sense? So one of the things I evaluated in 2019 was how many transactions that I closed. Okay, so my numbers are way down, full transparency, right? So I typically close between 45-50 transactions a year. This year I'm on track to close perhaps like 27. All right, so I understand that that's not market driven. I understand that that was me not showing up for work, almost intentional. All right, but there's still some a story to be told within the transactions that I did close. I want to know how many of my transactions were buyers and how many were sellers. I looked at my business and I was very listing heavy, was not buyer heavy. What did I attribute that to? How many people in here are more listing heavy than buyer heavy? This year you are. So it's interesting that you say, thank you for engaging. So it's interesting you say this year I am, which indicates that perhaps last year you wasn't. What do you attribute that to?
I attribute that to vacationing more. That I was more interested in traveling this summer. So therefore, a lot of my business was more geared towards sellers. So therefore, of course, I was here working, but I was a little bit more hands off than I have been before.
So you decided when you started the new year that you wanted to travel more?
Not necessarily. It's just how life happened.
Okay, so we're gonna go a little permission to go deeper. All right, so life happened and you ended up traveling more, and as a result your attention went to what?
To family.
To family. So as your attention geared more towards family, what do you think caused you to attract or pursue listings more than buyers?
Well, I think it was the message that I was putting out, because of course, along with, life changes, my message was, hey, I need more sellers. That was the marketing that I was putting out. That was what I was putting out in the universe.
Got it.
Yeah.
So her focus, in addition to her intention, but her focus in her marketing was more listing based, which as a result, she ended up doing more listings. And have we ever gotten to business and said, God, I'm so tired of working with buyers. I just want to get listings. I'm so tired of being out showing all day. And then in 1 year, you shifted your business. Have you taken time to reflect on the fact that you shifted your business from a buyer business base to a listing business base in 1 year?
I have, but not as deep. But yes, I have. I recognize that, yes.
That's essentially what we're doing right now. We're taking a look at literally what you did over 2019. It's not enough to say I made $100,000 last year. I sold 50 homes last year. That's very basic business evaluation. What we want to know is what happened that caused you to shift from buyer to seller base. What happened in my business that caused me to go from 50 deals to 27 deals? Okay? What is your average price point?
Mine?
Not yours, but what was your average price point in 2019? How many have noticed the shift downward in their price point in 2019? Tashma, okay, it went down?
Yes.
Okay, from how much?
About 18,000. Went from 220 to 208.
Okay, you guys take out your calculator on your phones quickly. So your price, how many deals did you do?
This year?
Yeah, how many are you slated to do this year?
45.
Okay, so let's take $18,000 times 45. How much money is that? $810,000?
No, 81,000.
$81,000. Multiply that by 3%. Did I do that math right?
45 times
$18,000 is how much your price point went down, right?
Correct.
And we multiply that by 45. That's 810,000. Multiply that by 3%.
24,000.
That's $24,000 that you did not make this year. This is what we're talking about, evaluating the health of your business. Oh yeah, my price point went down, and we act as if that's not a significant event. $24,000 is an $800,000 deal that didn't go into your bank account, right? So I'm glad thank you for sharing. So let's go. Let's get into it. Is it significant that your price point went down $18,000?
It is.
It is. So what needs to happen? Are you willing to work more? Are you willing to work? Let's be specific. $18,000. That's $24,000. Your average price point is how much?
It was this year's like 208.
208. So that's 3 more deals you would have to make that money. Yeah. Almost 4. You would have to do 4 more deals to make that money up, or you could work on increasing your price point.
Correct.
Right. So when we evaluate our business, we're making a decision. Am I going to spend time increasing my price point to make up that $24,000, or am I going to just make a bigger sales goal? Are you guys seeing? Are you tracking with me? Y'all talk to me now.
Yeah.
We're talking about evaluating your numbers for 2019 so that we make smart business decisions and not just lackadaisically saying, okay, well, my price point went down, or I'm listing based this year. No, something happened. Something happened that caused that. What caused that?
Well, it was not necessarily intentional. However, my focus was transactions. So my focus this year was to see that I could produce, and I understood with my referral business that I wasn't in control of the price point of what I was getting as a referral.
But are you?
Well, that's what I saw. That I'm like, okay, I hadn't put the skill in place to be more intentional about the price I was attracting.
Got it.
So there were 2 things I was focusing on: the number of transactions and being more listing involved, because I do work a lot with buyers. So
right.
I accomplished some things and then other things dropped. So then I was like, okay, well that.
So let me ask you this question, because we're doing business evaluation, and I hear that the number of transactions is really important to you, and I get that, having a transaction number goal, right? And now that you may or may not see whether you hit it, I don't know, irrelevant, right? But now that you know that, is it going into 2020, is it more important for you to hit a number goal, or is it more important for you to hit a GCI goal?
A GCI goal.
Okay, so
For next year, it's more important.
for next year, it's more important to hit a GCI goal. So now, as we evaluate that, we see it, we interpret it. Now we need to know what needs to happen in order to get the GCI, the price point up, so that you don't have to do as many transactions, right? What thoughts do you have around that?
More of my listing skill, building my listing skill set so that I can attract more of the price point that I want than just kind of taking what I'm getting. So I'm getting the leads, I'm just honestly not clear on how to get more of the price point that I want.
Got it.
I'm going to challenge you, Amisha, on
Go
your
for it.
statement to Tajma. I think the question to also ask yourself is, as you're evaluating the business and the changes, and you had multiple goals, one was increasing your units, right? Now that you've done that, the key I think is to do, it's not an either or, but it's an and. Like, in order to continue the growth in the business, you have to continue the transactions,
Yes.
not consider dropping the transactions to increase your price point from that perspective. I think that needs a little bit of clarity.
Yeah.
That you know that you can accomplish a certain number of units, and because you're accomplishing a certain number of units, how do you then sustain that and then increase? Because
And increase the price
the
point.
key about the number of units that a lot of agents, I think, can take for granted is the number of units also really tells you the growth of your business, because price points naturally happen in the market. You know, median sales price in Atlanta has increased, so in many ways you don't have to do anything to increase your price point because the market itself has increased it as well. So that's why the number of units is very critical to know. Really, is your business continuing to grow? Are you continuing to get consistent referrals from your database? Are you getting it from your open houses? Like, the units really tell you that. So I think that's important to continue throughout your planning and visioning for your business.
I 100% agree if your goal is to continue to grow your business, which that is most of our goals. I remember last year, I think somebody's goal was not to do more units, but if if your goal is to grow the business, 100%, I agree with that. Also, looking at if the average median price point in Atlanta has increased and your price point has decreased, that's the focus right there. Okay, let me take that out and figure out what needs to happen in my business next year so that I'm either outpacing what's happening in Atlanta or at least riding the wave. Make sense? All right. Some other questions that I looked at in my business as I evaluated 2019 is, where did your business come from? And is that business source, is it likely to sustain itself through 2020? So a big source of business for me was my builder. Well, my builder went and hired an agent in-house, and I'm not willing to go to his brokerage. And so I'm potentially going to lose about somewhere between 15 to 20 transactions. That's significant. If you're buying leads from Zillow and I'm hearing that they're changing their business model, is it sustainable? How many people can share their primary source of leads with me? Anybody? Me, where's your primary source of leads? Referral. Okay, so that's great. Referral business is great because that can be sustainable if you work the referral system. Somebody else, another lead system.
Social media.
Social media. Social media can be sustainable too if you're consistent and continue to have mind share Because with social media, you have a lot more competition. I think we as agents have a lot more people. We see a lot more real estate stuff on social media because we're realtors. But you're not the only agent that your client follows on social media. You do know that, right? Okay, so one question I would ask is if 100% or a large portion of my business comes from social media, what specifically am I doing that's going to cause that to be sustainable through all of 2020? Does that make sense? If you were posting 3 times a day, is your content piercing? Is it captivating?
It's typically value based. It's giving them information about real estate or something that's happening in the market, and I specifically message different people, not just more so posts, but specifically reach out to people and see if they need assistance. Add some piece that's of value. That's my biggest thing. Value.
Perfect. Who else? Give me another primary lead generation source.
Other agents.
Other agents? Is other agents a primary?
For me, I'm a commercial agent,
Okay,
so I get a lot of referrals from residential agents.
perfect. Okay, is that sustainable through 2020?
It can be,
It can be. Give me a reason why it wouldn't be.
if I don't follow up.
Okay, what's another reason why it couldn't be, or why it wouldn't be? Because if it is, you have nothing to worry about, right?
Right.
But if it's not, now you have a huge gap in your business
Yeah.
plan. So what's the reason why it wouldn't be?
Decline in the economy,
The economy?
less businesses.
Okay. What else?
Well, if I don't work that market, if I don't make other agents aware of what I can do to help them, how much I pay out in referral fees,
Mm-hmm.
then
Could an agent meet another commercial broker that could maybe offer them some more value than you offer them?
Yes.
Yes, that's possible, right? I just want to show you guys how quickly things can change and how evaluating where your business came from in 2019, is it sustainable, and really hold it against, what is that? You want me to be on the board to your new hire. Defend, yes. Hold your source of business to a defense. Like, really challenge, is it sustainable through 2020? Is there something that could happen that I don't necessarily foresee? Am I taking my business source for granted? And do I have a reliable backup source? And then I would take a look at, here's my primary source for 2019, right? What's the second next best source that I have? And what's the gap in units? Did I do 40 units from open houses in my next, did I do 15 closed deals from open houses, and was my next group of units agent referrals? And it was 5. That's a huge gap. That's a huge gap. This is what I'm talking about, evaluating. We're not just looking at numbers. We're looking at the story behind the numbers. And as we're in this shift in market, and as we become, as we try to become more flexible and bend with the market, we want to pay attention to what story is our business telling us that we're not paying attention to, that by the time we pay attention to it, we're broke. Y'all quiet. Y'all talk back to me now.
So it's the bottom line, because like I don't have a primary source. It's a variety. It's my second level network. It's referrals. It's networking. And I feel like I want to keep it that way, like third. I know I can't be all things to all people, but it feels like I want to really cultivate like this one network, get referrals. And
how many deals have you closed?
I've done 2 listings, and I've got 1 under contract, and I've done some two referrals.
So not the referral business. So you've done 2 listings. Where did they come from?
One was my second level network. I was helping somebody else network, and happened to call somebody. She's like, I could help them.
When you
find a
say
job.
network, do you mean that like somebody, a sphere, somebody in your sphere
Yeah,
of
so
influence?
somebody through like my university asked me, that I went to undergrad, asked me to help somebody find a job.
Okay, got it.
so
So
then-
what about the second place?
The
Where did
second
it
one
come
was her
from?
next door neighbor, because I did a good job.
So all of your business, 100% of your business right now comes from sphere of influence.
Yeah.
Okay. So I may encourage you to perhaps own that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, don't say, I don't know, you're a business owner, you've done 2 deals, and those 2 deals have come from your sphere, and that's probably where you should focus on right now, unless you want to choose to do something else. You see what I'm saying? When you take ownership of the space you've already conquered or already engaging in, then you can like kind of move from there. So now that we've established where your business comes from, what was the statement or question you were making?
So is it best to have more than, because I'm feeling like I hear people say, oh, I do social media, but then I'm always afraid that, well, something could, like you were saying, could go wrong. So I feel like you need to diversify your sources and probably have like no more than 3 so that you're not spread thin, but have a few different sources.
I think that you're likely to get business from multiple different sources.
Mm-hmm.
The question that you're in your planning phase of, figuring out what next year's business is looking like is to key in on where your major source is, ensure that you're protecting that, but you're also doing the other things, right? Like every year for me, it's the focus of what is my next skill for the next year? What is my intention of like increasing in my business side? But at the end of the day, what I calendar, what I focus, what I cultivate most is going to be my number 1, because it goes back to that 80-20 rule. Like for us, our business is referral based, but we test other opportunities as well. Whether we did 6 months with Zillow this year because we added a team member that wanted to try it. Like we're open to it and we're doing things, but ultimately you're tying it in some capacity. Like I think that the 3 sources you have, in many cases for most agents that have been in the business, 2 of the sources tie in some way. Whether it's like my database and then my networking group. Your networking group, you likely market to, you likely cultivate similar to the same way that you do your database, so that you're able to be more efficient and effective with what you're doing. So like to pick completely different ones where you're doing open houses all over town, and then you're doing your sphere, and then you're possibly like doing some farming, but the farming isn't necessarily where you're focused on your open house. If you connect to the farming and the open house, it's figuring out like what that formula is for you, not to say that you're only doing one thing,
Right.
but that you know where your focus is to get 80% of your income, and then that other 20% helps and adds to it. If that answers your question.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So how many people in there have more than one source of lead gen? Source of business. More than one. More than one. Can you guys raise your hand high? Okay, great. Should we hear from a couple people? Cosman, what's your primary 2 sources of leads?
Database and open house.
Database and open house. Nikita?
Database and leads from Home Light. I got a lot of Home Light referrals. Home Light.
Home light. Okay. What is home light?
It's a lead generation.
Lead. Okay, so like you pay for leads.
I don't. It's like a referral, system where I pay them a portion of my commission.
Okay. Who else? Ming?
Networking events. I go to networking events.
Networking events. Okay.
I'm part of a couple of professional organizations, and when you go there, you network, you get involved, you become known as the go-to guys.
Okay.
Open houses and online marketing.
Online marketing. Okay, Rob.
Like repeat business builders, contractors, type people.
Okay. Okay, got it. So what I want you guys to do when you're evaluating your 2019, and then I'm telling myself, so we're getting ready to transition, but I want you to really evaluate if where your business is coming from is sustainable through 2020. I also want you to look at how much that business costs you. So I remember last year, like 35% of my business came from agent referrals. year before last actually. And then I looked at my business and I realized, dang, this business cost me $45,000. That was the cost of the 35% of my business cost me $45,000. That's a lot. You talk about Tosh making up $24,000. I had to realize I could go make up $45,000 because that was a primary source of business for me. And then what I didn't do is evaluate, was that sustainable through 2020? What happens if those agents happen not to refer? What happens if those agents choose to work those deals themselves because their business got low? I didn't evaluate that 2 years ago. And then so last year, it dropped drastically to my cost of business was about $8,000 in agent referrals. So as a result, I did less business, but I made the same amount of money. And I felt it. I felt like, wow, I worked less, but I made the same amount of money. This year, I may have paid out $10,000 in agent referrals. I've also done less business, right? But that's also piquing my interest because how did I go from $45,000 in paying out agent commission to, I went from 45 to like 8, and now I'm at 10. There was a huge drop in agent referrals to me. So what's the story behind that? Did I engage these agents? Did those agents start working the deals themselves? Did they start referring to another agent? That's the thing that we want to focus on when we look at our steep drops in our numbers.
And I also think like when you're looking at sustainability, it's also how can you also increase it? Like for us and our goal for the team will likely be consistently every year is how do we increase our percentage of return on our database? So our business is majority our database, and we know that almost 50% of our database is repeat clients for us, right? And we've lost a couple that they ended up not coming back to us. And this was the first year in the 15 years I've been in business that the client didn't come back to me. And so like when you're looking at it, it's also how do you ensure that your source is consistently increasing with changes in the market. And it isn't just about like, can you sustain it? It's can you increase it? Can you go from 10% of my I get a 10% return on my database? What would it look like if I could get a 15% on my database? What actions and activities do we need to be doing just to increase that source? Because you know your pool of people. How about if I could, if you have 100 people and you're getting 10 deals a year out of it, what would it look like if you got 15 deals out of it?
Becky, the only way you would know that you were getting a 10% and with the goal of increasing it to 15 is if you track your numbers. That's the only way. Otherwise, you're just showing up for work every day and you're closing business, but you don't know where the business came from, what percentage of the business came from. I remember one year in my business, I did like 20, 30 open houses. And I was telling everybody my business was coming from open houses. And then that's the year I hired a coach. And she made me go evaluate my numbers. And I realized I had closed like 2 deals from open houses. But I was out here doing open house like every other weekend. But my business wasn't coming from there. So I love the fact that you know what percentage of return you get on the return on investment from your database, and you're able to gauge the increase if there is because she's tracking her numbers. Do you guys catch that? Because what would a 5% increase return on your database yield you financially?
So our database is we have about 400 people in the database, and 40 deals from this year, 10%. So 40 deals, our average commission is $10,000. My husband tracks everything. $10,000. So if we had 5 more deals, that's $50,000 just from the database.
5% increase, $50,000, 5 more deals. Like, that's massive. That's massive. $50,000 is some agent's whole career. It's their whole career. But just a 5% increase. So now, Becky, you go to work and say, when I do my business plan, I already know that I'm going to back 40 deals. How can I get 5 more deals? what specific skill, what specific script, what specific event needs to happen so that people in my database, I need 5 people to refer me one solid closed transaction. That's working with intentionality, because now while her buyer's agent is out showing property and they're in the property and they're walking and they fall in love, and right when you find that house and they getting ready to say, oh my God, I want to put an offer in here, who else do you know want to move to this neighborhood? Most of the time when people are looking for a house, they start attracting other people who are also looking for a house. Do you see how seamless this process was? We got exactly what you wanted. The contract is signed. We got your closing costs. We got all the repairs done. Who else do you know is underrepresented right now by an agent? Who else do you know is frustrated right now in the process of buying a home, that if they partnered with us, they wouldn't be experiencing that? Like, that's a whole nother level of engagement during the buyer process that would allow them to get another deal. Because when people's emotions are high and they're so excited, they're more likely to give you a referral. But what would it require on their buyer's agent's part or her part, whoever, to engage at a deeper level right there? Like, soon as you see that opportunity, you use a different script. Now, what if they did that to every single buyer if she's running a 50-50 business? There's 20 opportunities to use one script to make 5 more transactions.
Or 20.
Or 20 if you're highly effective with the script. If the script is authentic and compelling. You guys get it? So I want to give you guys the nuggets and the scripts and the things that'll cause you to do more business. But the only reason why we got here is because Becky knew that she needed a 15% return to make $50,000 more dollars. 5% increase to make $50,000 more dollars. And when you look at it, 5 deals to make $50,000, that's not a lot of transactions. That's not a lot. 5 more deals, $50,000, one script, 20 times. One script, 20 times. That's called business planning, right? Not just, well, I made $100,000 this year and I want to make $150,000 next year and I'm just going to do more open houses. That's not going to cut it. Because you did more open houses last year and you made what you made. Not until you figure out what the story your numbers are telling you can you create a new story. You guys understand? Y'all talk back to me now.
Yes.
Alright now. Let's see. These are my 2 favorites. Becky came up with this. Where did you notice you struggled in 2019? What were your challenges? You guys did a first time in 10 years. I did a buyer consult and the buyer did not sign a buyer agency agreement. I was told. I'll tell you, I couldn't believe it. I almost kicked him out the whole office. I was like, it's only 2 hours. It ain't enough value. Sign here. He was like, just consider what? I couldn't believe it. I could not believe it. I almost lost it. And it was a sign call. So the fact that he made it in the office on a sign call, on a rental, and he needed to move in 60 days, and he did not sign a BBA. Transparency.
Thank you for sharing.
What is that? I mean, it happened to the best of us.
Why do you think that is?
Huh?
Why do you think that is?
That's a great question, and that's the only thing I got to focus on. And I did not go to bed until I literally went home and was like, okay. After I had a drink and calmed down, I was like, you done lost it, Mish? You know, and I was like, okay, what could I have done different? Where did I go wrong in the buyer consult? Where did I not provide enough value? Where did I not pre-qualify? You know, I converted him on a sign call and he came in and I never asked him if he was talking to another agent. I assumed that he had not done his research. I was talking to him like the internet didn't exist. Like he didn't have some information already. You know, remember back in the day, you talked to a buyer and you were all things real estate. The buyer had to come to you to get information. The buyer coming into the buyer consult more prepared than I am. And I had to reevaluate my buyer consult. Guess what? I'm closing on the BBA 3 times before I get to the end of my buyer consult now. That's what you call a quick 2mm shift. But if you do a buyer consult after buyer consult after buyer consult, and in 2019 and you've done 15 buyer consults and you sign 10 BBAs, you think you winning because you closed 10 buyers, but you didn't look at the 5 you didn't get. The 5 you didn't get is the secret sauce. That's what's telling you where your skill is lacking. That's why it's important to track your numbers. I went on a buyer consult today. Okay, they signed a BBA. Cool. I went on another buyer consult a month later. Cool, they closed. I went on this one. I didn't get it. What we do? We don't even track that. We don't know. That's all right. I just got to get more what? Leads. Or what? What you said? You said
just more buyers.
More buyers. That's what we say. That's an agent way of thinking. That's not a business mindset. A business mindset go, wait a minute now. I'm just curious. What caused you to sit here for 2 hours, hear what I had to say, and not sign a buyer's agency? And I respect that you didn't, and yet the only way I get better is if you're honest with me. Are we willing to ask those questions to the person who just didn't sign a buyer agency? Put our ego to the side and figure out, where could my presentation have been, how could it have been different? Because something caused him to come sit with me. What I was saying on the phone was strong enough for him to come all the way from the West End to the office. Something happened in the buyer consult. Either there was a lack of rapport, there was a disconnect on value, or somebody else had already given him information that was more valuable than what I was sharing. But I have to evaluate that in order to get better. Now, I used to do my buyer consult, and it was a slam dunk. I would just email them electronically. They would sign on dot loop. Buyer consult go in the buyer packet now. Guess what? It's the second form you get when you sit with me. And I share with my buyer that anytime you feel comfortable and confident working with me, feel free to sign the buyer consult and we can get to work right away while I'm doing the buyer consult. And that might not work for you, but that works for me now. Because I was so, you know what I was more frustrated with? That I spent 2.5 hours in my buyer consults are that long. But I spent 2.5 hours and I ended up with no client. I was more upset with myself about the time that I spent. You guys understand how we're evaluating what we did and didn't do? Now, Becky also mentioned, what did we do well?
Well, why are you evaluating? Why do you think it's important to evaluate what actually happens in your business and you're clear on that?
So you can adjust.
So you can improve.
Okay, why now?
Now, meaning present
The
day.
last 2-3 years, I mean, you could make lots of money and you didn't really have to evaluate. Why now?
The market is beginning to shift now.
Okay.
And it's going to be more competitive.
In what sense?
It's going to be more competitive as far as competing with other agents to win the client, because those people who were just kind of floating along and making money just because, those people probably will go away, which means the people that we're competing with are the people that are in the business to stay and have honed their skills. So we got to get better
And
to
new
earn the
institutions.
business.
New institutions are doing business
Yeah.
differently,
Yeah.
and it's fresh, and it's so they're considering traditional versus a new way of doing business. So
Like, we have competition in every way that we're looking at. And so
Yes.
you really have to know where is your biggest weakness along that way. And if you're not constantly pivoting, constantly reflecting, constantly evaluating, you know, sometimes that buyer's consult was just, it wasn't anything. But the fact that you take the time out to ensure that it was something that you couldn't control, that's the most important part. It isn't always about 100% identifying, but taking the time out to at least look for patterns along the way as well.
And don't internalize, like, I didn't internalize that he didn't choose to work with me. It was my skill. It may have been me, but I'm not going to internalize that because I can't afford to carry that energy around. There's too many people out there who choose to do business with me. However, I do take the time to evaluate where my skill was lacking.
Mine is pricing this year. Pricing was always, up until this point, was not a struggle. This year, pricing has been a huge struggle, I will say. Having the conversations for price reductions from sellers. Because when I'm pricing it, I'm feeling good about it. At that appointment, I've got my sellers on board. You know, whether I'm pricing lower than where they're at, they're on board. But when it's time for that price reduction, it's hard for me to get that price reduction. I'll say that more than 50% of my price reductions weren't because I asked, it was because my sellers got
Ooh,
missed.
wow.
That's my big reflection for this year. And I lost a listing this year. I never lose listings.
Hey, I lost a buyer.
Oh my God.
And a whole console. Like, it's serious, you guys. Don't think that you're the only ones out here experiencing, like, agents who doing business at a high level are having to reevaluate how they do business. But the key word is reevaluate. Don't go through this business just represent buyers and sellers. Like, your skill, it's one thing to know you need to hone your skill, but it's another thing to, like, really own that and then make the pivot and then seek out the resource needed. Becky and I, we call each other all the time. Hey, I just need you to take a look at this. I need you to put your eyes on this. Am I tripping? Or, like, all the time. All the time.
And our business and our approach is completely different.
Yeah, we like two totally different people in business. But where we can meet is skill. Okay? How you interpret and how you express skill is different. Right? If we went into a listing appointment, completely different. How we communicate, how we dress, everything completely different. But where we can meet is the skill. Now, we take the skill and then we make it our own. But I can't tell you, like, it's important. Don't try to go through 2020. I would encourage you not to go through 2020 just using your skill. I really have to leverage the skill of my tribe and my colleagues to get where I'm going.
100% the skill you have in 2019 is not going to get you through.
Promise you it's not going to cut it.
Guaranteed.
I promise you.
It's not. Because if you look at the stats, you're already seeing the changes. Negotiations are changing. List price to sales price is changing. Days on market is changing. And that's not a change that we've really had to deal with. So if you're a new agent in the last 2 years, the last 3 years, and you haven't had to really build your skills, 2020 is going to be a surprise. And it may not be in every transaction. It likely won't be in every transaction. But you know which transaction it'll be in? The one that matters most. That $1 million listing, that $500,000 one that you end up losing to another agent, that buyer that terminates and hires a different agent.
Or the house across the street from you on the back of a freeway and it ran on the news last night that it was a horrible place to live with your real estate sign on it. Like real life.
Story.
Real story. Real story, by the way. So, you saw that? You know what? I mean, think about it. We're in the middle of a contract negotiation. And my listing and my real estate sign is on the Channel 2 News. I mean, and then the seller's like, I don't want to pay closing costs. Ma'am. We in no position. We are in no position not to give them everything. You know? I mean, that's going to take a higher level of skill. We're talking about just things that you've never really encountered before that you will have to encounter. Let's move on. Are you guys clear on Are you guys clear on how I want you to evaluate 2019? Y'all talk to me.
Yes, that
Yes.
was very helpful.
Okay, we're not just looking at numbers. We're looking at the story behind the numbers, and we're being vulnerable and transparent with ourselves about things we did well, things we didn't do well. Yes? Yes. Let's move on real quick. I really want you to take out your 2020 goal and income plan.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
So what if you have reflected on your activity for the past year and you realize that you've just done a terrible job of following up? How do I improve that one factor?
The first thing you do is stop saying you did a terrible job, right? So stop programming yourself that you did a terrible job. Change that language to you were ineffective in your follow-up, because now it's not about you, it's just about your follow-up, right? And then the third thing I would do is I would put a system in place. First, I would look at the number of people that I didn't follow up and sort of calculate how much business I would have did. Because seeing that amount will hurt. Like, that's going to put you into action. Okay, I lost $150,000 because I didn't follow up with 10 people. Okay? And then, yeah, see that heartburn? You need that to get into action. And then I put a system in place. What does that system look like? Follow-up Boss is amazing for system follow-up. For systematic follow-up, because it follows up to your clients without you having to do anything. All right? Do you schedule a day? Fridays from 8 to 9. Okay, I'm not here to promote 3-hour blocks of time. 1 hour. 1 hour from 8 to 9 on Fridays, I follow up with everybody who came through my pipeline. I put it on my schedule in perpetuity, and it just shows up every Friday at 8 o'clock. Okay? You put a system in place, something that you're going to follow. Did that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
All right, 2020 goals. You guys, everybody have this out? Everybody have this out?
Yes.
Okay, y'all gonna have to do a little bit better job with this energy. Now, y'all need to stand up. Y'all need to stand up. Let's stand up. Let's stand up.
Priya, would you show where the stack of handouts are?
Let's stand
Right
up.
here on the back row.
Let's stretch real quick. Stretch. Let's stretch. All right, let's shake it out. Let's shake it out. Y'all, if y'all give y'all business this level of energy, y'all might go get a job somewhere. I'll tell you that right now.
It's intense in here, Misha.
It's light and airy, but firm.
It's intense.
All right, shake your head out. All right, sit down. All right, we're gonna do our visualization exercise, and then I'm gonna talk about this for 6 minutes exactly, and then Becky, we'll take a short, 5-minute break, and then Becky's gonna take. You think I'm intense? Wait till you get to this economic model. All right, you guys.
Material's intense, not me.
Close your eyes. That's right. I want you guys to close your eyes. Take a deep breath. Put your phone down. Put your noisemakers down. We're going to take a deep inhale. Exhale. If I can see your eyes aren't closed. Take a deep breath. Inhale. Exhale. What we want to do is exhale through our mouth and inhale through our nose. We're going to take a deep inhale. Inhale. Blow out through your mouth. Now, you know you have a stress breath if when you inhale, your belly button doesn't expand. If you inhale from your chest, you know that's a stress breath. I want everybody to relax your shoulders. Now we're going to try to inhale again through your belly button. It's going to expand. Inhale. Blow out through your mouth. Exaggerate the blow. You guys are holding so much tension and stress. I wish you could see yourself. I want you to inhale. Exhale. What we're looking for is an inhale from the belly, not the chest, okay? Your chest shouldn't rise up. Your belly should go out. Inhale. Exhale through your mouth. You got to open your mouth to exhale through your mouth. Inhale. Exhale. Drop your shoulders. Didn't realize you were holding so much tension in your shoulders, huh? Inhale. Exhale. Oh, you guys are getting there. Almost there. Inhale. Exhale. We're going to blow out through our mouth when we exhale. Remember, inhale, belly button. Inhale. Exhale. On this last exhale, I want you to blow out aggressively. Like all the stress, worry, concern, anxiety is in your belly, and the only way to get it out is to blow it really strongly through your mouth. Inhale. Exhale. Aggressive. There we go. Yes. All right, with your eyes still closed. I want you to go to your favorite place. With your shoulders relaxed and your eyes closed, I want you to go to your favorite place. A place that brings you a lot of peace and a lot of calm, a lot of tranquility. When you go to this place, you're like your highest and best self. You radiate with joy when you're in this place. Perhaps you're with a person that you really love. The person that's joining you on this journey is also somebody who radiates a lot of love and peace and loves to see you at your highest and best self. For some people, it may take a little longer to figure out where that place is, but we have time. We're not in a rush. I want you to notice what you're doing and how you're feeling. I want you to notice how grounded you feel. You may be in a sunny place. You may be at the beach. You may be by a warm fire in a cabin. Perhaps it's your vacation home. Might be in Italy or France for Christmas. I really want you to just take in your surroundings. What do you hear? What do you taste? Are you eating? Just be in this space and notice how relaxed you feel. Notice how free you feel. Is there music playing? Are you dancing? Who else is around you? Notice that the people around you are also being light and love and happiness and joy for no reason other than they're happy and they're joy-filled. Now, as we transition from this place, we're going to go to December 31st, 2020. December 31st, 2020. You just closed your last real estate transaction of the year, and you're preparing yourself to enjoy New Year's Eve with whom you choose. You just experienced closing all of the transactions you intended to close. You grew the team you wanted to grow. You enjoy vacation time with your family. You paid off your house. You no longer have a car note. Children are off at college and is completely paid for in a separate account. You were able to put tons of money away for retirement. I want you to look at your retirement account. Look at the statement. What does it say? Notice that I don't have to tell anybody to relax their shoulders. Everybody's so relaxed. Some people got engaged. Wow, look at the ring. Some people are planning weddings. Some people are solo traveling across the country. Their favorite thing to do. Somebody's having a baby. Somebody's enjoying grandchildren. And all of this was made possible because you showed up as your highest and best self in your business for 365 days. All of this is showing up because you planned it. It didn't happen by chance. You wrote it down. And then you execute it every day. You might notice you're smiling. You might notice you're a little bit lighter. It's almost time for midnight and you can feel good that you did your absolute best to show up for your life in 2020. You planned it, you executed, you were flexible, you made changes, you met new people, your referral sources were strong, your bank account is robust, you have no debt. And now it's time to plan for the following year. So as we come back to the room, when you're ready, open your eyes. when you're ready. So as you open your eyes, I want you to realize this place that you guys created. You can go back to this place anytime you choose. Like, you created the whole experience you just had in your mind. You created it in your mind, and now what we're going to do is take 5 minutes. We're not going to do this whole form. We're going to take 5 minutes, and I want you to put on this form some things that you experienced in your mind that happened in 2020. And I'm only giving you 5 minutes because I only want you to take the highlights. If you were in Italy, put Italy on your form, plan it and go. Right? We're not doing every single line. But the brain is very powerful. So wherever you went with a little bit of suggestion that resonated with you is what's already deep down in your subconscious. So go ahead and put that on your 2019 goals and income plan. If you experienced yourself on vacation, list it. If you were at a wedding, list it. If you bought a new car, you were at a convertible riding down the road, list it. Because it's very rare like that we take the time to really think about what it is we want. We say what we want in passing, watching social media, we see somebody else with it, but how many times do we take like 5 or 10 minutes, close our eyes, and really visualize the life that we want to unfold? Some people don't slow down long enough to even have a hot cup of tea to eat. I want you to write that down. Okay, we got 2 more minutes. One more minute. And pens down. So you're going to take this home and complete it. And I want to just say something quick about this is that I started doing these about 4.5 years ago when I was having a hard time finding a big why. You know, some people have relationships, kids, parents, whatever. I always struggle with a big why. And then my coach had this concept of, well, why don't you just design the life that you want to live? And when I started giving my money a name, every dollar had a place to go, it became waking up every day, not every day, be honest, I don't want to go work every day, but most days, the bigger picture, I became more in alignment with my business. And so creating a life that you choose to have and understanding that without the money to do it, it probably isn't going to happen. When you factor in these big purchases, if you've always made $100,000 and you never had money to travel, you can't make $100,000 and travel. You're going to have to make more than $100,000. Do you understand that? If that's what's required for you to live. So giving your money a name, assigning every dollar on top of what it costs you to live, take that money and you divide that by your average price point. That'll tell you how many transactions you need to close. So Tashma, just for an example, in addition to doing more transactions, if you know that you have to do 50 transactions to fund this life that you've designed, and you know your price point is coming in about $18,000 short, an immediate 2mm shift to get the price point back up. Or else something on the list don't happen. Because then you do the 50 transactions and you look back and then you lost $30,000. Well, what on your list cost $30,000? That's probably the thing that didn't happen. Okay? So that's another reason why tracking your numbers is really important. I wanted to get you guys in a less stressful space and bring the energy down a little bit so that you could be open to designing a life. This is not something that we need to go over in class because there's more skill-based things that we want to teach you. So We're gonna take a break right now for about maybe 4 minutes, return phone call, use bathroom, and come back. And then Becky's gonna get into the economic model of your business as well as your growth plan. And we're gonna specifically talk about growth plans as it relates to the shift in market. Okay? Any questions?
No.
No.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Even though you didn't feel the energy.
I am the energy.
There you go.
So, yeah. So, all right. Beautiful.
Thank you.
That'll get you going.
I know before I call through the whole presentation. Oh, yeah, I need to go get some tea. Who's our lunch sponsor, Becky? No, I mean, what was for lunch?
Oh, we don't know at the next. Twitter likes it for it to May 11.
How are you?
It's tea. Oh, I'll take some. Until you get some tea.
I'm sorry, I just didn't do
Yes, I'm using the old.
Okay,
But you can ask, Allison or somebody else.
Thank you.
A little girl. She's walked in and like, so long have I been in here? Yeah. It's like 3 months old.
Already?
Congratulations.
Really?
Oh, that's awesome. Good. What's
Law at Christmas? Yeah. No, went to Australia and New Zealand and Vietnam.
That sounds fun.
New Zealand is my best. I love New Zealand. It's so clean and it's so great, but it's very expensive.
More than Australia.
But we can do that until we know what orders are.
But it's just oh, I would not like it. I don't have to go back for another 40 years. I went to Saigon, of course, Nepal, but I did not. That number was pretty good. But it was cute, you know.
Okay, so next what you did is if you're ready for God you go.
I went to him, I wish, you know,
Yeah.
I know. I'm not saying not about too much,
All right, you guys ready to get into the math of the business? How many people here have read the MREA book? That's awesome. How many have read it more than once?
Just came through it the second time.
You know what, somebody had told me that really kind of changed how I looked at the MREA book was, once you've read it, it's more of a manual. You're not even using it as a book anymore. You reference back for the things that you're challenged in your business at the moment, or the areas that you need to focus on your business, whether it's the lead generation or the budget model. You know, going back to the book as you're like framing 2020 for the areas you need to focus on. I think that's really a key way to leverage that book instead of feeling the need to read the entire book. Like, just constantly go back to where you're at in the business within the book. Okay, so how many people have actually used the economic model to help them in business planning? One person? Two? Okay. And what is your big aha about the economic model that you would like to share with everybody?
Just kind of give
You want to go first? What was your aha when you used the economic model?
Just how many transactions needed to take place before I could actually get there.
Okay. Was that a positive aha or a scary aha? Like,
well, it meant probably changing price points to get there more rapidly. So that was the thing that stood out.
So same as her, I actually, just talking about the focus of my business has changed from buyers to sellers. That was somewhat intentional, however, it just became more intentional based on life changes. But I would say that from year to year, if I go back and look, that I can see the differences in my business of where it was and, you know, evaluating to see how it shifted in percentages. So that's how I evaluate it.
Perfect. Okay, perfect. So let's jump into it. What I have in your handout right here is I have a sample and then I have a blank one. So what we're going to do is kind of go over the sample and then you can go home with a blank one and fill it out yourself as well. But we can kind of jump in. You know, my biggest aha about the economic model is the same as well. And the best part about the economic model is it's an opportunity for you to really play with the numbers. If you play with it, whether you're changing your commission, the 3%, to, let's say you look back on 2019 and you realize that you may have done more concessions in 2019 than you did in 2018, that maybe in 2020 you need to plan appropriately because you might have missed your income goal because of the fact that you hit your units, but you didn't make the full 3%, right? So do you need to adjust? Is there something happening in the market that may cause you to adjust and not expect the full 3%? Not that I'm encouraging that in any way, but that was just an example. And so average price, sales price as well, like many agents just know what their average is total, but sometimes knowing what your average is with listings compared to buyers makes a huge difference. Like for our team, our buyers price point is higher than our listings, and it goes back to we've really been focusing on move up buyers. Like we recognize that in the market, this is an opportunity for us to create for our clients to say, you know, if you could move, where would you move to? What does that look like? And in creating those conversations, we're able to get two sides of the deal, and we know that our listings will likely be lower for that reason. Okay, so having clarity around that makes a big difference because that's also where you can make tweaks along the way so that you're not just blanket increasing your price point, but where do you want to increase it? And just having that additional layer of focus and specificity makes a huge difference in how you actually take action. And so the key numbers are also figuring out the number of sellers that you need to close in 2019 and 2020, and also buyers, what your conversion rates are. How many of you keep up with your conversion rates? What conversion rates am I asking about?
Conversion
Leads to close,
to
or contacts to close, or conversations to close.
Contacts to
Christine?
appointments to close.
What, Roger? I'm sorry?
Contacts to appointments to close.
Okay, so
appointments to listings to close.
Yes, exactly. So in the economic model, your conversion rates start from your conversion from the time you take a lead and you are able to convert them to an appointment. So lead to appointment, what is that percentage of the time that you actually are able to secure an appointment, whether it's a listing appointment or a buyer appointment? And then once you've been on the appointment and you've taken the appointment, what percentage of the time are you able to actually close that deal? Right? Because you're not going to sell 100% of your listings, or you have and you realize in 2019 that you're not. So that makes a huge difference. And do you need to plan for 2020? Did something happen in the last quarter? Because if you're breaking down and you're looking really on your year and you're breaking it down, are you noticing that maybe Q1 you got 100%, Q2 you're about 98%, Q3 you're at 95%, Q4 you're at 90%. Is there something that's happening in the market that's causing you to rethink what your conversion rate is? Should you be conservative or could you be aggressive? If you are being conservative, understand what else is it that you need to do to sharpen your skills to ensure you're even at that level. So these numbers really help you think about the overall business, not just hitting numbers. Like there's conversations behind every single one of those numbers.
Oh, Becky, skill as well.
Yeah.
Those numbers expose gaps in your skill level, because if you're able to talk to a person and get them they'll meet you for a listing appointment, right? You take the listing and then you put it on the market and then the listing doesn't sell. Was it the market, or did you not have a strong enough script to get them to fix their house up before it went on the market? Or was it pricing and you weren't skilled enough to get a price reduction?
Yeah.
Those conversion rates tell you, like if your conversion rate is 75%, to 25% of the time you didn't convert it, it could be a skill, it could be your market, you don't know, you gotta evaluate that.
But you also know where the skill lies.
Right.
Right? So is it that if your challenge is that you meet the seller and the seller doesn't hire you, 50% of the time, and then you also know that 90% of the time if the seller hires you, you sell the listing. Where does your focus go? from a skills sharpening perspective.
Your listing presentation.
Listing presentation, exactly. So it goes back to that. So you get to go back and you know where you need to focus, as opposed to just looking at it and saying, I didn't have enough sellers.
Or it could be,
Or you didn't close enough.
or it could be you didn't pre-qualify. You're going on unqualified appointments. You don't know. You could have a killer listing presentation, but you on an unqualified appointment. Means they weren't gonna sell to whoever showed up because they couldn't sell. But you understand what I'm saying? But digging deeper into those numbers helps you uncover your gap in skill.
Okay, so
You tell me.
okay, just want to drive. Okay, so I'm happy to share the spreadsheet so that you can play with the numbers so that you can understand. But we'll start with going backwards. You want to start from where you want to end. How much money do you want to make in 2020? Once you've done the first exercise that Anisha has provided for your 2020 goals and income plan, you'll know what your net income needs to be. And from the net income, you make that decision. Let's say you're looking to make $100,000 net income, right, before taxes. You actually have to make about $141,000 to net $100,000 if you were to follow the model. Based on the model, you should be spending, and this is for individual agents. If you're a team, there are other factors that come into play. I kind of simplified it based on my conversation with Stacy. So we're only factoring if you're an individual agent. And that your operating expenses typically is going to be about 30% of your income. So that means that includes salaries, whether you have an administrative assistant, whether you're doing contract to close, whether you have a showing assistant, marketing. There's a breakdown in the MREA book of exactly where that 30% is broken down. How much should you be spending in different areas? Because at different GCI or income levels, there's a different percentage of how much you should be spending on salaries, how much you should be spending on marketing. And to ensure that you're building a business that is truly sustainable and profitable, your goal is to stay within those guidelines. So when you come up with your budget model, go back and say, if I'm going to make $100,000, how much money do I get to spend in these areas? And that's how you're building that like business owner mentality and habit and skill. So the model says about 30%, so you're going to put aside about $40,000 just for expenses, and you need to then ultimately build your business on making $141,000, not on $100,000, because you want to walk away with that much money. Because many agents, I think, come into the business thinking, I'm going to make $100,000, and after they've made $100,000, they realize they've only made $70,000, and they really haven't made that much money. And that percentage helps you kind of, keep focus. And that includes your cap as well, too, in that percentage. So let's say you want to net $100,000 and you're running a 50-50 business, okay? So your average sales price, so you would then enter your 50-50 business. So your percentage of commission, how much do you make? And I think it's important to go back and really calculate what your concessions are, because it's very rare if any agent is truly getting a full 3%. Like you're likely either not doing a lot of transactions that you're having to really, fix things along the way potentially. So go back and just be conservative. Like for our team, we really build hours based on 2.8%. And if we're able to net more, great. If not, we've built it at 2.8. We're just working a little bit extra just to buffer ourselves along the way. Okay?
Or you can take higher price point, higher percentage listings to offset that. To bridge the gap and get 3%.
Okay. Well, yeah. Okay. I see what you're saying.
See what I'm saying?
Okay, so you know what your commission is. And then next is going back and calculating what your average sales price was last year, right? We actually run ours. If you've been in the business for a longer period of time, I do my average sales price when I'm figuring out my business plan on my last 3 years. Because 1 year you might just have a great year, and then the next year you're planning with a little bit more confidence than you should, because the reality is your business isn't based on your last year. It is truly based on your consistency year over year. So that's why we actually use averages to plan what our average sales price is. So if you're more of a seasoned agent, that would be my recommendation, is to go back the last few years as well too. And then once you've entered in that, figure out what your conversion rate is. If you're a new agent, the model recommends that your conversion rate is at 50%, whether you're a buyer or a seller. As you're more seasoned and you're actually tracking your numbers, then you get to pick a higher number. But if you're not tracking your numbers, you really can't be as aggressive to say, you know what, I get it 90% of the time. It's very few agents that are actually converting at 90% in both categories.
Yeah.
In both categories. So if you're converting, lead to appointment, lead to assigned agreement, 50% if you're a new agent, and then conversion rate from the time that you are able to actually sell it. So what percentage of the time are you actually selling the listing or closing the buyer? It was right there. And then how many months do you plan on working?
So the first conversion rate is
Yes.
from essentially the lead to them becoming a client.
Higher.
And then the next conversion rate is making the sale, either way.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yes. Exactly. Okay. So how many months are you working? Do you plan on taking 2 weeks vacation, 3 weeks vacation? How much time are you taking off? But also consider, are you going to mega agent this year? Are you going to family reunion? Are you taking specific training classes that are going to cause you to not actually be in the business at that point? So buffer that time. So we buffer that we're working only 10 months out of the 12 months. So 10 months. And then once it automatically calculates all of that, shows you how to calculate on the left if you're not using the spreadsheet. Once you know exactly all those numbers, it breaks down and tells you to make $100,000 with your average sales price on the listing side at $250,000, you need 3 listing appointments a month. And then on the buy side, you need 3 buyer appointments a month in order to hit the $100,000 net income, assuming that your average sales price is actually in line with that. Going back and looking at the end of every month to make sure you're on track, it helps you kind of tweak. Like, you should go back and see how this month goes. Are you going on enough appointments? Is your conversion rate still in alignment? If your conversion rate has gotten better, I would just leave it the way it is. But if your conversion rate has actually gone down, you need a tweak for how it's gone down so you can adjust for the next month to ensure you're still going on enough appointments to ultimately hit your goals. It sounds like a lot of work, but the best part about the spreadsheet is it takes 2 seconds. You're just filling it in. And can we be honest? How many of us are really going on more than 15, 20 listing appointments a month? So the tracking should be easy. Can we agree? Yes. Everybody's looking at me like, So if you're keeping up with it, like, yes.
How is your 3 appointments per month work out to be a 18 salary listing taken? What percentage that you have? So you have 3 appointments per month.
Mm-hmm. So if you have 3 appointments per month, you're going on 30 appointments
a year.
And yeah, and you're able to wait.
And then 75%
Salary
of
listing
that.
appointment, you have 24.
4. Oh, because I'm only working 10 months. Wait.
Yeah, I know.
I don't know why
10
that's
months.
right. Give me a second.
How are the 6 appointments coming to 18 listings taken like that? How
It's
how we got-
Because you had a 50% conversion rate.
Yeah.
And a 75% conversion rate.
Yeah, 50% conversion rate is 15.
Oh, you know why? Because 2.4 is what you go on, and you can't go on 2.4 appointments, so you're gonna round up. And that's where the 3 comes from. I have it set up to round up, because if you round down, you're gonna miss your goal. Great question, Jen. Sorry about that. But that's why it's 3. Did that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So same, it calculates on the buy side. So your goal, you know, and you have clarity every single month. How many appointments do you need to go on? To make $100,000, you need to ensure that you have 6 appointments, 3 listing appointments, 3 buyer's appointments. And every week, you should ask yourself, did I do my 2 appointments this week? 2 appointments this week. And if the first week you don't get your 2, you need to roll it to the following week. And as long as you're consistent in watching that you're hitting your appointments, which is your lead measure, your lag measures will show up. So your lead measure tells you what activities do you need to make in order to ensure that you get the result you're looking for, which is the closing.
Becky, talk about why we don't track closings. You were talking about lead measure, lag measures.
Why don't you tell them?
No, you got it.
Can't remember. What? Ask me the question one more time.
Why we don't track closings? A lot of agents say, "Oh, I had 6 closings this month. I had 8 closings this month." We don't track closings. We have explain to them what lead measures and lag measures are.
I'm gonna let you.
No, you guys.
Okay, so lead measures are the activities that cause a result to occur. So if you don't go on an appointment, you're not going to get a closing. So what activities are you doing or not doing that impact getting what you want, which is the closing, right? So if all you did was track your closing, how do you turn around and know how you got that result? How do you know what impacted you to increase business or decrease business? So that's why the model focuses on what that lead measure is. And your lead measure is always going to be how many appointments did you go on? Because as much as contacts are important, because if you take in bold, every day you're supposed to do 20 contacts. If at the end of the week you did 100 contacts and you got 0 appointments, does it matter that you made 100 contacts?
No.
What do you have to ask yourself?
What do I need to do differently?
Or how many more contacts do I need to make? Or what skill do I need to build in my conversations around that? So that's why ultimately you're tracking your appointments. Your appointments tells you whether or not you're going to be on track to hit your goals. And then along the way, it goes back to your conversions. What skills do I need to focus on to ensure that I'm able to convert what I'm able to set? Any questions? So think about it. Just to make $100,000, you just need 6 appointments. That's it. 6 appointments. But then let's ask yourself, if you were to truly sharpen your skills and focus on and say, you know, my biggest challenge is actually having a seller hire me. If you were to tweak that and just increase it to 70%. 70%. If you ensure that you actually get hired and you have that skill built, you get to go on 1 less appointment. Is it worth scripting and role playing? Is it worth that extra class to build your negotiation skills? Is it worth practicing your presentation over and over and over? Or practicing objections over and over and over? Is it worth it to even think about how you show up in your business? Saves 1 appointment. How much time does that save you? Let's do your conversion ratio. Same there. Let's just go up 10%. Oh, didn't change that much.
Probably 1 put something.
Yeah, that's small.
But your deals were easier.
Yeah.
They got easier. Your skill increased. Yeah, if you increase your conversion rate by 5%, I think that the experience that you have in converting, that you do less work.
Yeah, you definitely do less work.
You do less work.
I think that, my listing appointments haven't gotten shorter, but my conversations, once they've listed with me, have become less and less. I don't have to spend, 15, 20 minutes negotiating an offer with a seller. I can talk to the seller for 5 minutes and we're done. That saves me on every single deal that we're working on, every single offer that we get in.
I love that. That 5%, just increasing your skill 5%, it shows up in your business in a big way. You work less, it's more fluid, more effective. What does that look like?
More time.
Becky, what does that look like to increase my skill 5%? Like, we talk about that, but what would, realistically, if you were to increase your skill 5%, what would that look like? Pick a skill.
I mean, if I were to increase my
pricing
skill, that would save me probably 30 extra days on market, 30 extra days of talking to the seller about their house.
Like
30 days back.
How would you increase your pricing skill by 5%? That's big. Saving 30 days on the market. That's a lot. Cause you think it takes some time. It takes us 3 weeks just to have a conversation. Well, it takes us 3 weeks to realize we need to have a conversation, and then we get the courage to have it about 2 weeks later. They've already been on the market 40 days, 30, 40 days.
Or increasing your skill of 5%. So I'll do 400,000, 5%, 400,000. That's $20,000 more. I'll make $20,000 more. 5% increase.
What I heard, what I was listening for was what specifically would you do to increase
what would I do?
your skill by 5%?
Around pricing.
Around pricing.
Scripting and role play. Hands down. I don't go into a conversation with a seller to talk about a price reduction unless I role played it with another person, whether it's another team member, whether it's Anisha, or another agent. I would role play. I would practice on somebody else and not on my client. I think that gives me that 5%. More classes. Classes that aren't like the usual classes. Or just events depending on the skill. Looking outside of, your little bubble of classes to take, whether you're going to the board, whether you're, taking classes from an inspector, or you're taking classes, with Beanie, like outside of max coaching. Like, I think that's a huge part of it too. But I think at the end, doing all those things, practice and role play. It's all practice and role play. What is your what are the 5 components of your job description? What's the 5?
Don't call me. Make appointments, follow up, script and role play. Lead gen. What did I say? Negotiate?
Oh, no, yeah, that's the first one. Negotiate contracts, go on appointments, lead generate, lead follow-up, scripting and role play. That's your 5 job descriptions. If you don't do those 5 things every single day, you didn't do your job. How many of you say that to yourself every day? At the end of the day, when you're getting ready to shut down, whether it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon or 6 o'clock in the evening, do you ask yourself, did I do my job today? Did I do those 5 components? And that really puts a flashlight on how you're running your business. Okay, any questions about the economic model? Anybody want to play with the numbers out of curiosity? Would you like to make more money?
Absolutely.
Okay.
The answer to that. And is this going to be available online to be able to plug in the numbers?
Yeah. If you send me an email, I can share it.
Absolutely. And your email.
Oh, you know what? You can email Stacey. I'll share it with Stacey. Yep.
So in this example, you're saying that you need to sell 15 or 30 homes to generate at $250,000 each to generate $100,000 net before tax.
So you have to sell 18 clients So 18, so 9 sellers, 9 buyers on a 50-50 business.
Okay, sold, right?
With
I see 18 total sold.
Yeah, 18
Okay.
total.
I saw
See-
listings taken. Okay, that's the, got it,
Yeah.
okay,
So it would be this section right here.
got it.
So
Okay.
that's how many you have to close. Just 18 closings, you'll make 100 grand. That's 1.5 a month.
So simple.
It is actually. It is. It's that simple. We make it complicated.
We just do our damn job.
Right? That's the thing. Like, are you being honest with yourself in how you spend your time? Are you being honest with yourself on the work that you're actually doing? Are you being honest with yourself of how you spend your time? Because the reality is that there's 18 clients out there that anybody can close. It's whoever shows up that actually gets it done.
And
how did you show up?
And focusing on your lead measures and not your lag measures. When you focus on closings, you will miss your mark every time. But if you focus on a closing is a lag measure, right? That happens after a lead measure. A lead measure is how many appointments did you go on? How many events did you go to? How many contacts did you make? That'll cause you to go on how many appointments. If you focus on the number of appointments you have and sharpen your skill, the lag measure, the closings will happen. The closings will happen. When we focus on closings, that's something that it's an afterthought of what we actually did to get the closing. So instead of focusing on 18 closings, you focus on 2 or 5 appointments a month. You see the difference?
Yes.
The 5 appointments a month the 18 closings will happen.
And 2 months out of the year, you don't have to go on 5 appointments if you're that focused. You can make this business if you decide, I only work 6 months out of the year. Set your business plan based on you working 6 months out of the year. And show up for the 6 months.
I was just about to say, gotta work for 6 months.
Let's see. Oh, is it changing? That round up makes a huge difference. Let's say you want to make 200,000. It's only 8 appointments a month.
That's 2 appointments a week.
Just 2.
So each week I need to find 1 buyer, 1 seller. 1 buyer, 1 seller each week. Each week. So then the question becomes, well, where do I find a buyer and a seller each week, right? Where would you find a buyer and a seller each week? Come on, you guys.
Open house.
An open house. You can find buyers and sellers at open houses. But what price point open house would you need to host to find a seller to come through an open house?
$500,000.
Possibly.
$500,000.
It would need to be a move up price point, right? In order to find a seller at an open house? Because sellers have to buy. A seller that's buying typically will sell. Do you think you might find a seller at a $100,000 open house? No. $150,000 open house? No. A $200,000 open house?
I have an observation. I have seen it's kind of depended on when they bought, because 250 has been about that threshold where people were ready to move up because they bought at 100. So yes, they were able to sell at 250 in a 250 open house. They had something to sell. Does that make sense?
That's fair, as long as they're buying and selling above 250 and 275, so that we don't end up with that gap. I like that. And if that's your sweet spot and you're finding success there, Tasha's out doing open houses, so I trust what she said. If you're finding that sweet spot at 250, that's where we hold them open. I mean, she's boots on the ground, so she's knowing, okay?
So the operating costs, that just doubled, wouldn't it saturate at some point, increasing your goal? Like, shouldn't some costs just be monthly and maybe it won't be 82,000, maybe 65.
Yeah, but you might
I don't know.
increase, you might need more admin to get to your 200,000. There's fluctuations within it. There are other things that might go down and might go up, but you're still balancing out likely at about 30% pretty consistently in the model.
Where are you getting the operating expenses from?
So if you, in the MREA book, as I mentioned previously, in the MREA book, it breaks down what that 29.2% is. Because like at, you know, at, actually I'm going to pull up the book and see. I had it marked.
What page is it? I'm going to look it up.
So, you know, at different levels, you're spending either 11% in, you know, salaries. As you increase, you might get to 13% is allocated for salaries because manpower looks differently, is one example. But the book has a chart that breaks down that budget model.
So if I'm not spending that much, trying to make that net income, I just deduct, I have a spreadsheet too. I just take out office expenses and the 18,000 we pay in the commission to the broker. I don't add gas, of course that adds up. But I don't
why don't you add gas?
Why don't I add gas?
Yeah.
I should, I just haven't started, I'm not organized. I need to figure it out. But I don't think it's 40,000 even then. Like I just feel like that just.
But what about marketing?
I do like my own flyers. I don't know.
Yeah, but I mean, I think part of it is that like, you know, I'm a prime example. Okay, so my team, you know, or when I was an individual agent, semi-team, I didn't spend a lot of money. I was well below that 30% threshold, significant below. Like my profitability was exceptional. And you know what I realize now is I didn't invest enough in my business. And had I followed the model, I would have been investing in the business to get a higher return out of the business.
Like
and
creating
that's
a
part of the
website
model.
or landing page.
Yeah, because sometimes you know, decide I'm not spending and I don't need to, because like for me, I didn't need to spend money on marketing. You know, like my marketing expenses were really low. I didn't need to, and I got all of the referrals. But when the market changed, the business changed, top of mind became even more critical, and I had not been spending that money, whether it's in social media, whether it was like websites, like we didn't spend any money. And so not investing in your business and having that high profitability isn't necessarily a great thing either. So I think you have to plan for that, and that's the purpose of following the model. Like these models are fundamental in building a business and having a business versus just how you are today. Because when you're new and you're only closing 10 to 20 deals, it feels good because you're making all this money, you're not having to do anything, but do you want to see the business consistently grow? And do you also want to ensure that you have you put money aside so that when you're ready for that hire, that you have no fear in the hire. That, you know, that person costs $40,000. And it's on page 157. And it has like the breakdown of what percentage you're spending on salaries, lead generation, technology, things like that. And that should help you understand the numbers better. But yeah.
I think too, you know, because like I think the difference between you and other person is you work on your business and not in your business. That is the difference.
That's the goal. I can't say that. Yeah, I think it's a growth process that's really challenging. I think that the agents that, you know, have reached like MREA status, because I have not reached it, those agents have truly followed this book, and they know this book like the back of their hand.
Oh God, have you had a
That's
conversation
the
with
difference.
Courtney talks
Newton.
in MREA pages.
Yes.
Oh yeah, because on page 72 it says it right there.
Yeah, my best friend is also an MREA agent, and she's the exact same way. She knows exactly what page, she knows what her percentages are, she knows exactly what the model is, and knows her budget model. And that's a huge difference. That's probably, if I were to say what was my biggest regret in my growth in the business, was not consistently using and touching this book. That's a great question.
I think it's also understanding that though you're saving money in marketing costs by doing it yourself, there's also a cost of your time that you could be lead generating and actually outproducing.
I know. I'm sure my hourly wage is more than $20, but I still do things that I should not be doing.
Yeah.
And that's what you have to ask yourself.
We get carried away in the moment.
So hard. So, this is probably a good breaking point for everybody to grab food. And for a few minutes, I'm gonna give you guys about 5 minutes to grab food. If you haven't gotten it, you don't have to not stop. You don't have to stop or anything. And then we'll move into the next phase, which is growth plan, which I think will help us tie everything together as you guys really build your plan for next
You don't want to miss this last part because it's going to be market.
And it's fun.
It's, yeah, you really don't want to miss the last part of this.
Real quickly, grab your food. And then we will have Scott, once you guys sit down, come up and talk to you guys for a couple minutes.
That spreadsheet to everybody, or you know, oh wow, I'll send it to everybody. What you sent me though. No, so she's gonna send me that. Okay. Because, yeah, all I have to
He needs to buy or make a sheet first. So I think we're going to saved it to drive.
Thank you.
She should still have so once you get an email from her, copy of the pre-approval letter under the market.
Here's what you're gonna get.
Becky, are you able to save this on this jump drive? But Stacey's gonna send it out. Stacey'll send it out.
But they don't want to.
Oh.
And now it's just a matter of.
And working. That's a good start.
I appreciate you.
I mean, actually,
And as I'm doing one,
I know
university,
I understand, but it's not able to be done.
I can put it in the bag. And I use it as a side.
Cool.
How was lettuce? She needs lettuce.
Right, and then I was thinking, so I do have a couple of people that
I don't know. Your team.
And that other one that I did on my Go-go boots. Go-go boots. Alright, has everybody got kale salad? I just want to make sure. The greens. Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
I think it's
No, I would recommend they do the agent. Yeah, no,
I'm going to
the summer always tries to go out.
Yeah, Friday is
It's hard to go Friday night.
I mean, because we didn't use like a Tuesday. I got the because of the championship,
I'm not trying to get
Offshore running in on stuff I'm missing. It's like the bottom line.
You know what you play? You look great.
I have a black hustle, and so I have these together, and then they don't, like stop English, so they just. And one of my friends said that
Great.
The floor is yours. We want to thank Scott Buckley for lunch.
Thank you. I'm with NPI, National Property Inspections. We've got 8 guys. The card just has our generic office number because we can schedule you depending on which guy and where he is in what area. But we cover all over metropolitan Atlanta, Athens to Villa Rica and beyond, Gainesville, down to Peachtree City, even LaGrange. So we cover a wide area, and we'll get to your inspections. We do offer every client $25,000 in warranty coverages. So if something goes wrong, they've got a peace of mind. We've got them help them out, like our 90-day warranty, mold safe, sewer guard, platinum roof protection plan, which is 5 years, and that'll just help them out when they move in and be okay. We pride ourselves in doing the same-day report. Now I'm going to ask for a little personal help. Because some of y'all might have heard me, my daughter got married back in July 6th. Well, recently I turned 50, and I thought she was going to give me a birthday present t-shirt mocking my age now, and instead it said promoted to grandpa. So if you guys, I know I asked for money or inspections for her getting married. Now I've got a grandchild on the way, so I really need, help me out. Put that on your chart. Scott Buckley, NPI, more inspections, and it'll help me out because I'm going to spoil that child rotten. So thank you very much for your time. Appreciate it.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay. Do a standard growth plan. When you're doing your growth plan, how do you go into it? How do you decide what you're doing?
Deciding what areas I want to challenge myself or improve or to learn for the year.
Okay. How about like 5 things, 10 things? What is that?
Typically, maybe at least something once per quarter, so like at least 3 or 4 things for the year. Meaning, not in my market, but as far as like, things that I can do at home or webinars and things like that, then of course that's more. But as far as like big events, like 3 or 4 years.
Cosmic?
Definitely looking back on what was not as efficient the year before, and then putting that on the schedule for next year.
I agree. I think that's probably been one of my big ahas as far as like my growth plan through the years. Before I would do what everybody else was doing, right? Everybody was going mega agent. Everybody was going to family reunion. Everybody was taking gold. Everybody was taking like the classes that Max Coaching provided. And then I realized at the end of the year that I never really mastered anything. I didn't. I just did a growth plan just to grow. Growth is definitely one of my values as a person. And, I looked at it and I just was like, oh, I was growing, but it wasn't impactful. It didn't change anything significantly in my world or in my business. And so the year before in 2017, I got a lot more focus on the skills that I was looking to build. So I had a theme to my growth plan. And it was, once you've identified that theme and you build around it, I think it gives you a bigger opportunity to really see something more impactful in, the year that you're looking to build, where your focus is. I would say 2018 wasn't a big growth year for me. What about you, Amisha? I didn't take many classes.
I learned through failures in the business more than I learned from external. The biggest growth opportunity for me was through coaching.
Yeah, that's definitely
my coach
non-negotiable.
Grew me drastically this year, and when I learned to go deeper with one growth area, like one growth activity versus many, I saw a bigger change in the way I view my business and myself.
I looked at 17 and I created a growth plan. It was an awesome growth plan. But I didn't actually do any of the things on that list. I probably did maybe 15% on that list. I probably showed up at the 15%, maybe at 60%. And at the end of 18, for the first time in my 15 years in the business, my business actually went down. Because I had not grown that year. And it was a huge, powerful aha for me of like not actually pouring into myself, which is what the growth plan is. The growth plan is pouring into yourself to be the best version of yourself. And who you are actually affects and impacts your business, right? And that's that trickle effect. So if you look back on the years that you didn't make a lot of money or the time that you didn't hit your goals, a big part of it is whether or not you grew. How did you spend your time? Were you really changing who you were along the way? And be honest with yourself. Were you reading books? Did you take classes? Did you surround yourself with, powerful people? Did you spend the time to go to events? Or did you stay within a bubble and do the same events over and over and not actually leverage the events as part of your growth plan? Because you can say part of my growth is to go to family reunion. But if you went to family reunion and you didn't walk away and do something with family reunion, was it worth going to family reunion? So I think that those are some of the questions and reflections that I would say to look back on as you're building your growth plan. So I think this would be a great way to kind of share with each other what have we done in the past that really, affected your business or impacted your business, so that maybe others can consider it, because then they're thinking outside of your own comfort zone. Any ideas?
Yeah, can I just make an observation and statement? Because even though I'm years-wise seasoned in the business, I think using the business or working the business as a business, I'm a little more novice than seasoned, and I didn't buy in to the growth plan until last year, because I felt like it was supposed to be business oriented, like everything had to be structured around a particular skill to grow my business. Last year I focused on personal development, and just kind of hyperlinking what Becky said, when I worked on me then it emanated through the rest of my business. So the confidence transferred from one area to, okay, if I can do that here, then I can do that here. So I gave myself a pass that it may not have been necessarily a skill-based growth in the business, but it was a growth personally.
Well, let me challenge that. You sure it wasn't a skill? Because here's a prime example. Working out. We actually used to work out together. We're starting back. We do. So that you work out and I think. We still work out. Yes, I would. We still work out. I miss you on when we did breaks the other day.
I was there.
Oh, were you?
I was in that.
So that was part of your journey and your growth. Can we agree?
Mm-hmm.
You don't think that you got a skill out of that?
For sure. I just, in my mind, I didn't correlate it to growing my business. But what I did was consistency.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Consistency. So that setting a goal and being consistent and not letting anything keep me from showing up.
Mm-hmm.
So then that started to.
Because last year, before I got pregnant, the five of us, Amisha, Apriya, Nikita, Tajma, we actually worked out at least 5 times a week together at 5:30 in the morning, and we all traveled about 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 5-6 times a week together. And I think and that growth plan really helped us build our, just that habit of showing up for something consistently, and it became a non-negotiable, which then kind of trickled into all of our businesses. Mm-hmm. Knowing of how we're able to manage our time, because the gym was far for all of us, and yet we all showed up at the same place in the same time. So it's great, now I have this habit, how do I transfer it into my business?
Oh, we talking about the gym?
Yeah.
Let me say this. If I show up to my business the way I show up to this gym,
right?
I would be so wealthy. I would be so wealthy. I would be interested to see what the case analysis is on that, just to understand what shifted in my mind. I wasn't here for the pre-conversation to this, but not wanting to work out forever. Shout out to Apriya back there for changing everybody's life. Not wanting to work out for my whole life, and then one day going to this gym and transforming the way that I view fitness, and now I'm upset, literally obsessed. You don't understand. I move everything to get to this gym 4 to 5 days a week. Even if I miss my tribe at 5:30, I go to noon class. I'm living my life like I got all the business in the world. I'm going to the gym at noon. I should be lead generating. But I can't get through my day if I didn't go to the gym at some time throughout the day. I will even fight traffic and go at 4:30 in the evening, all the way to the airport if I don't make the gym. But what about that? What about that cause? What is that? And how can I duplicate that in my business?
When is the try?
It's like creating a routine, and that routine creates a mindset.
But you know what? You're right. And the routine was rooted in a group setting. Community. Yes, the routine was rooted in community, and that a community still exists loosely. The community exists. How we engage the community, I think, is all different. But it started there. Yes, would you guys all agree? So for you guys that don't know, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people in here that go to the same gym.
And it's by the airport, and we live.
And we all live far. We all live far. Duluth.
I live the farthest.
Yeah. Duluth, Sandy Springs, Camp Creek closer, Buckhead. So we all drive this ridiculous distance at 5 o'clock in the morning. Tashma is even up earlier than that to go to this gym, and it all started in community. I'm gonna transition because I could talk all day about this gym. Just know I'm a stand. Okay, let's talk about growth plan. I have something to say about growth plan. My biggest aha this year with my coach, I didn't do a lot of stuff to grow myself outside of coaching. I think coaching was probably one of the biggest investments. It was a sacrifice for me this year to coach. Because, y'all, I didn't make a lot of money this year. And I'm still paying $1,000 a month to coach. And my income dropped to more than half of what I used to make. So to still make a $12,000 commitment to coaching is, I'm going to just say it's a commitment. It's a commitment. And my coach talked about something with me this year that we've never talked about really to this degree, and it's called alignment. I was so desperate this year to really feel good about what I do that it was almost to my detriment. No, it was to my detriment, actually. Like, my business had a critical point. For those who know me, I'm super transparent. My business hit a super critical point, meaning I have none. And my coach and I, we tracked it back to alignment, like wanting to feel good about what I do every day. And then because I didn't take that journey serious, it hit a point where I didn't get a choice to feel good about it. I just had to go to keep a roof over my head. So she did some work with me about discovering what my values were. And in the past, people talk about their values and it was a conversation, but she did an exercise with me that really changed the way that I view business and myself. She did an exercise with me, and I won't go through the exercise, but I discovered, I didn't tell her what my values were because quite frankly, I didn't know. We say what we value, but our actions really show us what we value, right? So she did an exercise with me, and I'll share it later privately if you guys want to know what that looked like. It wasn't difficult. It was very frustrating. It took us about an hour, and then I discovered what my 5 values were. And so my 5 values that I came up with, and this is relevant to the growth plan, was integrity, success, fun, freedom. Integrity, success, fun, freedom. I'm not gonna lie about the last one. I'm gonna tell you what it is, but I do know those off the top of my head. Did I say fun?
Yeah,
You said fun.
I said fun.
Yeah.
Fun, freedom, integrity,
Success.
and you got it in the notes?
No.
I'll tell you what the other one is. Listen, my values, not your values. But here's what I learned. She said, studies show that if you're lacking 2 of the 5 of your values in what you do every day, you will disengage. So sometimes we disengage and we don't know why. You're like, dang, I know I need to do this. I know I have this business. I gotta show up to the best. For some reason, I'm just not showing up. I just want to have cocktails. I think it might even be alignment. I think it is alignment. It's alignment. The 5th one is alignment. So it is alignment, yes. So if you're missing 2 of the 5 of your top core values, you will disengage from the activity that you're doing and you won't even know why. So she says, how does your business need to look so that all 5 of your values are present in what you do every day? So that we can create a business that is so in alignment with who you are as a person that you just naturally show up in the business. It's not work. Do you guys understand where we're going with this? This was huge for me. Huge. So I recognize that, like, of all those values, if it's out of integrity, I'm gonna have an issue with it. I don't want to be affiliated with it. Okay? As much as I play in the gray area, I still like to hold some level of integrity. If I'm not having fun, I'm not interested. If it's not in alignment with who I am, I'm not interested. If I'm not experiencing success, I don't want to be affiliated with it. Right? So she says we're going to restructure your business. Everything from what your office feels like, to who you engage with, to who you align with, to how you regenerate, to what your buyer console looks like. It has to be fun. You have to experience success. It has to be in alignment with who you are. Down to how I dress, how I talk. I want to change who I am. I just want to be who I am. I want to be comfortable in my skin. And I want to engage my clients. And when I show up in that space with those values aligned, sky's the limit. So I got to the point where for the first time in like, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 years, I didn't have one deal pending. No closings, like 2 months in a row. Like, I don't know how many of y'all could live 2 months in a row, but the level I live my life 2 months in a row with no closing, this is tough. Okay? And so my coach took these values and was like, let's get to work. But we're only getting to work within these 5 values. Anything that's outside of these values, we don't affiliate with it. And you guys, I'm gonna tell you, in 6 weeks, I put almost 11 pieces of business together. Like, unreal. Just by operating within my value system. And when we talk about a growth plan, we're talking about how did that happen, right? The brilliance isn't what happened in the 6 weeks. No, the brilliance is that I was aligned with a coach that could pull that out of me and get me back on track. But not just get me back in production. She got me in alignment with who I am and my business. That was huge for me. That was so big. Like, the biggest win of 2019 was getting my business in alignment with who I am, but understanding what my values were so that I could stop doing things that don't matter to me. That I could stop doing things that I just don't want to do. My coach is like, fine, if you don't want to lead generate 3 hours a day, don't. I don't care. Go back to the values. How can we lead generate within this value set? Okay, fun. Let me find something fun to do. Every time my client calls me, invite me somewhere, I'm going to evaluate, is this fun? If it's fun, I'm going. If it's fun with integrity and I know I experience success when I get there. Do you guys understand how my lead gen shifted? I probably went to like 5 events in the last 6 weeks. I'm tired. Because that's not something I really enjoy. I like being alone. Contrary to popular belief. But I have fun. I have fun. I have fun at these events, and as a result, I'm making money. And I'm not picking up the phone having to call people. And I know that goes against the Keller Williams model. I'm just telling you guys what worked for me. My coach pulled that out of me. So, growth plan. My growth plan now looks like 3 things I factor in. Number one is is my growth plan in alignment with my values? First and foremost. If it's not, I'm not doing it. Don't ask me. I'm not going. Period. Number 2, what did I struggle with skill-wise? What did I struggle with skill-wise in 2019 that if I sharpen my skill, like Becky says for pricing, I can make extra $50,000 and 5 more transactions. Okay? And then number 3, what skill is the market demanding of me? Because I can't operate in this silo. I just want to do what's fun. I just want to do what I experience. Like, I got to consider I'm in the real estate market. What skill is the market requiring of me? Right? In order to know that, I need to know what's happening in the market. A lot of iBuyers. I lost a few deals this year to Open Door. The market is requiring me to be highly skilled at understanding Open Doors.
Buy box.
Say it louder.
Buy box.
Yes. Not only being skilled at the iBuyers that are on the market, but one listing appointment, I literally had to pull down an Open Door market within a mile of the property, pull down the fact that it was withdrawn, and then show where another agent, I had to highlight another agent's success, had listed it just to discredit Open Door. Do you guys tracking with me? Who's showing up to a listing appointment highlighting another agent's success in order to discredit Open Doors so that I can have a seat at the table? Growth plan. What is the market requiring of you? Where did you struggle? And is all of that in alignment with your values? And you may find out, like this year, I didn't have to go on a whole bunch of events. I told my coach, if you could get me in this type of production in 6 weeks, we should have did this in January. He said, well, you didn't start working in January. So the coach had to find a blind spot to get in there. You see what I'm saying? And now, finally, we're doing a business plan this year that balances the thing that I love doing most, which is teaching and coaching. Running my business, but running my business at the foundation of my business is my values. And all of a sudden, I'm not giving real estate such a hard time. I have a new appreciation for real estate because how I'm experiencing is different. You guys tracking with me? So as you do your growth plan, don't get caught up in doing 3 bullets, 12 things, 24 things. Just try to filter those 3 things. What are my values? What resonates with me? What is the market demanding of me? And what are my blind spots? Because if your growth plan is based on your values, you're going to show up to it. If it's based on your blind spots, you're going to make more money. Your growth plan should be making you more money. You put your business plan together, you're going to make $300,000. Cool. Your growth plan should be, I don't know, at least a 5% increase as a result of a completed growth plan. This is just a bonus. Like, you know, at the end of the year, you get a raise. Consider your growth plan your raise. Because you've done the things in the growth plan as a result of who you become, you make more money. Figure out what those values were. I mean, I would have paid cash money for her to do this exercise with me. It's been huge. It's all about alignment now. All about alignment. That's all I gotta say about that. Anybody have any questions? I'm just really excited about that because I don't know, when we just sat down and do our business plan, Becky was a little frustrated with me because I was like, we were 40 minutes in. I couldn't find those values for nothing. I wouldn't even start it. I wouldn't even start the business plan until I found the values. Because the success that I'm experiencing this last 6 weeks is bananas. And to be able to replicate this for a whole year, just based on being in alignment with who I am, that's big. That's way powerful. And if you would have asked me what my values were, I probably would have said something different. I would have picked maybe 3 of those 5. Like, I value fun, but in the context of business, I would have not chose that. Because in my mind, my programming is that who cares whether you have fun in business or not? This is business. We have fun after. But I'm learning that if I'm not having fun in business, I disengage. Yeah. So how can I make business fun? So we have about 6 minutes left. Anybody have any questions, thoughts, anything you want to throw against the wall? See if it stick, feedback on as it pertains to growth plan?
Can you give examples of what you typically put in there? I mean, I've had events to attend, classes to take, books to read, but what do y'all?
For 2020, the Shift book is definitely on my list to read. I think that will directly impact how I'm looking at sharpening my skills from a pricing perspective, staging, like bulletproofing transactions. The book like highlights that. I think that's a good starter.
Becky and I have a negotiation class that we're taking outside of Keller Williams. That will give us a designation, so we're interested. We're getting outside of our norm because I think negotiation is going to become more important as sellers start to understand we're moving towards a more balanced market.
What I would say, it's a great tool to use. In my prior career, we had something similar called like a development plan. What I would say is think about probably 3 or 4 things to do maybe annually. I mean, you could do it monthly because sometimes if it's like a big thing that you're working on, aligning to your core competency or whatever you represent in terms of your values. I would probably align it as what's the learning objective what do you want to do, right? And what are your activities? And then I would also maybe have some that support needed. So, so if you have your crew, your core team, maybe somebody you can bounce it off of to hold you accountable for.
I can, that last piece you just said, that accountability piece. Listen, sometimes we think accountability is somebody checking in on us every day. My experience is that's annoying. Get off my phone, because you're probably not doing everything you need to do every day. And having just an environment of accountability is a game changer. Do you guys understand what I mean by that? An environment of accountability? Anybody want to elaborate?
Like having a mastermind group that
that could work. But when I talk about an environment of accountability, come on, Bree.
I mean, just to finish it off with the gym. So, like, I can't, you know, the consistency, like we're saying, of every day. And even if I don't go, I know that someone was there and someone's being accountable. But when you're in an environment specifically with mass amounts of people, you're dealing with energy. So when you're dealing with energy, you're also dealing with yourself, because sometimes you're like, why is this way? Or why is something, you know, a way that it is? And what that is that's kind of, if you sit in it and figure it out, it's opening you up to a limitation that you may not have necessarily noticed about yourself. So kind of just being in a place of like, why do I feel this way when things happen the way that they happen? It helps you get to know yourself and usually helps you deal better with people that you're communicating with, as well as how you show up in your business.
I love that. I love that. Being vulnerable, I think, with the people around you and being honest with them about where you are and where you intend to go, and let them know it's okay to check me when you see me not showing up to the gym. You know, if you notice that my production is slipping, if you notice that, it's okay to check in on me. And when you have a whole environment around you, like more than half the people who you spend the most time with show up in your life that way, it's just a different level of living. It truly is. If you could put ego aside, right? Yeah. And then you be that person that you want other people to show up as in your life. So it'd be okay. I challenge you guys, everybody in here, pick 1 or 2 people just to check in on one time a month. It could be random. You ain't got to put it on your calendar. Maybe you do. Authentically check in on them in their business or whatever capacity you choose. It's impossible to show up that way and then that not come back to you. After a while, you got 8, 9 people showing up for you. And that's helping you. They're doing nothing but helping you move your objective along, which you chose to do. You chose to lose weight and go to the gym. You chose to make $200,000. You chose to go on 8 appointments a month. And these people are checking in on you to make sure, hey, so how many appointments did you go on this month? I'm just curious. It don't have to be a long conversation. But what's happening is that frequency gets stronger with you. Okay, people are paying attention. All right, people are watching. Okay, they're reminding me of what I said I was going to do for me. Creating an environment is critical. So I think we're all done. Look at us finishing on time. It's 12:30. I hope this class was beneficial for you. Our intention was not to throw a bunch of numbers at you, but to help you guys think differently about the way you view yourself, the way you view your business, and how to properly evaluate how you've shown up in the past so that you can make some effective changes moving forward. Not just coming up with some arbitrary goal to sell 30, 40, 50, 100 homes. Does that make sense? Y'all come in next year with this energy. Y'all got to come with some different. All right, so thank you guys for coming. Appreciate it.